evening, Baller Nation. It's your boys, the Shotcallers, back with another podcast episode. The date is December 21st, 2019. And as always, we're back to talk basketball. As always, I got my boys next to me, Richard Renegade Bustos.
Yeah, I'm so happy to be here, ready to be back. Excited to talk about some hoops. What?
He always gets a good name.
You're not going to
be
like
the Renegade.
And to my right, I have Andre Airbender West.
I'm an airbender.
That's anime.
That's pretty cool, man. That's like a superpower.
guess.
That's a not that.
All right.
If you could
Avatar,
actually bend air, that'd be
underrated, anime.
Yeah,
so
all right.
that's not bad, Andre.
And I'm JV, and like I said, we are back to talk basketball. It's been a couple weeks since our last episode, so we do apologize, but we got plenty of content for this week. Before we jump into it, I want to cover our social media. If you don't already follow us on Twitter, we are on Twitter at Shotcaller Show. That's at Shotcaller Show. We're on YouTube, The Shotcallers, Instagram, _Shotcallers. You want to send us a message, you can reach us at shotcallarshow@gmail.com. And of course, you can find us on Apple Podcasts, Breaker, Radio.com, Anchor, Spotify. And if we are not on your method of choice, let us know and we'll make sure we get on there. Just search The Shotcallers. Be sure to rate us, leave us a comment, let us know how we're doing. We appreciate all the feedback that we can get. Without further ado, we're going to move into the first section of our show, and that is going to be with news.
Yeah, so we got a few things kind of recapping the past week or two. Some of the major headlines outside of game stuff. We have basically the catchiest headline that you could make of this is the prison games. The Kings and the Kings and the Bucks have announced that they're going to host a couple of, I guess, events or team outings to play in front of inmates in the name of rehabilitation and reform in terms of America's incarcerated community. This isn't going to be like Giannis, taking up a game against Buddy Hield, in prison. It'll be members of the organization, front office staff, maybe coaches. Luke Walton has said that he's going to participate, play in some games, and also like host sort of sit down player and inmate, I guess is the appropriate word, not prisoner. Interviews. Trevor Ariza mentioned he's gonna be participating in the one-on-one interviews that'll be filmed, and kind of just to get more of a spotlight on the efforts for rehabilitation at certain places in California as well as in Milwaukee, with other teams set to bring this to participate in 2020 with the Kings and the Bucks leading the way. The Warriors actually did something like this at the San Quentin prison system. I think it was last season. So it's kind of like a ball that's starting to get rolling downhill. Pretty cool sounding, right?
It's an interesting thing. Hopefully they can get the Sixers somewhere down the line. Mike Scott can show up, get Prison Mike.
Prison Mike. That's the best nickname for him. I did want to mention that was first reported by Mark J. Spears of ESPN / The Undefeated. That was Thursday morning on the 12th. So that's a little while back, but I want to give credit where credit's due.
See what comes from that.
Then on Tuesday, some of the Bucks actually, including Giannis and his big brother, Thanasis is his big brother. Anyway,
Giannis isn't the oldest?
No, I don't think so.
It looks the oldest.
And his brother Thanasis and a few of the other Bucks, they visited them on Tuesday. Quoted as saying they went in there and just they weren't thinking of them as people who had made mistakes. So it's definitely a social justice initiative that the NBA is taking. It's pretty cool to see multiple them using them impacting the community in several ways.
Yeah, and it's obviously it's not for money either, because prisoners, that's not exactly a big market for them. So it's good to see them doing something to sport.
Yeah, they probably have a very select amount of games that are even able to watch or keep up with. They don't have the grace of social media that we have at our beck and call. And something that this actually reminds me of is Tyronn Lue. I guess an excerpt or something that came out from when the Cavaliers won their championship in 2016. He was talking to the game to his team before Game 7. He was saying, this is it. This is what we worked our whole lives for. I'm heavily paraphrasing this. It may feel like destiny, but any one of us could be in a situation like that growing up. The neighborhoods that some of these players have grown up in, the choices that they've made, things that they may have
gotten around them,
things they've gotten away with, or interactions that they had that could have gone differently with police. So it's definitely something that it really lets you see that it's just two sides of the same coin, So pretty crazy, and that's what it made me think of hearing this. So I'm looking forward to hearing more about that.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Next on the docket, we got the Cavaliers are seeking a first-round pick in exchange for Kevin Love in a trade. So.
Yeah, Jason Lloyd of The Athletic reported this Thursday, the 12th as well. And so, I mean, it's kind of weird, right? Like, Kevin Love is looking to go. There's been a lot of reports on his body language right now.
Yeah, he wants to compete. He wants to go to a contender. There's been reports about the Cavaliers team kind of having some friction with the head coach in terms of, effort and what he wants to see from them. So Kevin Love, end of his prime, still an all-star level contributor. He could be a really good piece for a team that's trying to compete. Assuming that he could have gotten to Portland before Melo, I think he could have been a good piece for them, even though they're still kind of suffering on defense. But his rebounding and offensive.
So you think he could be a contributor for sure?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
What about the fact that he misses so many games, like every year, like 30 games almost?
As long as he's there when you need him to be. But you kind of got to roll the dice with that.
I think of like a Marcus role type with the Raptors last year, right? A lot of times coming off the bench, not playing a ton of minutes until really they got to the playoffs when he was a good mismatch for like Joel Embiid.
Yeah.
Then he was playing more significant minutes. So I think with that in mind, you don't really throw him out there and say, hey, be first, second, or even third option. Somebody who can come in and change the pace off the bench, when you're playing against the other team's bench and you still contribute at a high level.
I don't know, man. What I've gathered from hearing people like Jalen Rose on ESPN and like just guys that have been in the league or around the league for a long time is that there's that hierarchy. Like the money dictates like what you should be doing on the team, and it's like exceedingly rare to see something that flips the script on that. Like when Andre Iguodala was with the Warriors at first on kind of a heftier contract, and he ended up going to the bench. That's the exception to the rule. You know what I mean? And so I'm not sure what situation I could see him in. Everyone keeps linking him to Portland, somewhere that they could kind of plug him in as an additional piece, not having to trade away like somebody that, like the Nuggets, like they already have a spot with Jokic.
They're full 12 deep.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, like the friction in Cleveland with John Balin, their coach, some funny stuff was coming out about how running their practices, there's a lot of veterans, a lot of rookies, and he's coming in from his college system, and some of the guys are like, well, I'm not trying to work like I'm in college. I'm in the NBA. That stuff doesn't work here. The names of your plays are weird. Like guys are cutting in on a curl, and instead of calling it a curl, he's like, that's a polar bear. So he's yelling polar bear, and everyone's like, what are you talking about? It's a curl. Let's call it that. So yeah, pretty crazy. And so you were saying he could contribute. He could be injured. He could come off the bench. He could not. And so that wild disparity in what people think he's going to be are leading to other reports saying that while the Cavaliers want Kevin Love for a first round pick, other teams want the Cavaliers to attach an asset to accept him. So it's like, what's the benefit there?
You have 4 years on it after this year.
$30 million per year.
You still got 4 years left?
I think
he just signed that last year.
I think it's.
It should be a little less.
I think it's but it's $30 million. That's for sure.
That's a lot of money. Yeah,
that's crazy. So
especially if you don't want him contributing, but we'll contribute as a first or second option. But we'll see. I still think he has what it takes to help lead a team to compete.
I think he stays put with that contract. I don't see who would take on it.
Yeah, honestly, at this point, it doesn't seem likely. I feel like the hierarchy has been established, but I'd like to see him move, but I just don't think there's a place for him right now.
And of course, we'll keep everybody updated if anything changes on that front. And it was a week or so ago, a week and a half that happened, and we haven't had any updates since. Yeah. We definitely have until the deadline, and we've definitely seen some crazy deadlines in the past, like that time Luke Kennard got traded 7 times. He didn't know where he was at anymore. Like that was pretty crazy.
Get off a plane, going somewhere else.
Yeah, so for the next bit of news, we have the NBA after a really successful showing in Mexico City about a week and a half ago with Luka Doncic, Blake Griffin, everybody is showing off their Spanish. Yeah, showing off their Spanish, showing off their moves, their dunks, their imitations of Dwayne Wade and LeBron James in Mexico City. I think Adam Silver, or actually Shams Charania of The Athletic, announced that Adam Silver announced that they're going to be expanding the G League to Mexico City. So the Mexico City is going to have an NBA-related franchise in another country. And so everyone always says, like, world champions, like we just play in America besides Toronto. But here's a third country that will be in the mix should they eventually
North
get
American
a team.
champions is what it's looking like.
Yeah.
But that's still pretty cool.
What do you guys think about that?
I like it. I mean, I think it was very strategic to have the Mavericks be out there this year, considering they have 2 stars that speak Spanish. So I think that was very smart marketing wise. So I think it's definitely a market that wants the product. And, we saw that when it was on full display a couple weeks ago. So I think it's good. I mean, anytime that the game becomes more global, it's a positive for the NBA. We saw how it was with China. We talked earlier this season about some of the issues that, arose from some of the controversy earlier, some of the comments made. So I think the more countries you can get into, the better it is for the
kind of
bottom
smoothing
line.
that out. And give yourself a bit of a buffer.
And you want to grow the game. Like, I'm of Mexican descent. My parents are both from Mexico, and nobody related to me has ever talked to me about basketball like in my life. You know what I mean? But I sent those clips of Luka and Kristaps answering questions in Spanish, and my mom was like, she texted me back. She's like, "Those are some talented, handsome men." And I was like,
talented and handsome. What more can you ask for?
Is that a dig at me? I don't know. But yeah, so that was the most interested she's been in ever. And so if that can grow the game internationally, I'm sure that's something the NBA wants, especially if they're maybe not growing their market share in China at the moment, but they want to expand otherwise. And G League teams are normally tied to an NBA franchise. There's 2 teams that don't have a G League affiliate at the moment. I believe it's the Portland Trail Blazers, and the other team is the Denver Nuggets. So I saw somebody floating around that maybe they'll be tied to the Denver Nuggets. And so
that'll be interesting.
When people get shuffled, up and down to the G League to
you're
practice,
going, I'm sending your ass to Mexico.
Go to Mexico, baby.
Does that mean the G Leaguers have to travel to Mexico for all their games?
I guess so. Yeah, they'll have to travel there. And then also the altitude is crazy down there too. That's something that they talked about in their interviews. How they can.
Oh, it makes sense if they're going from Denver to Mexico.
But I mean, in general, just going to Mexico, like the altitude's super high in both places as far as in Mexico City. So
we talk about expanding the international impact of the NBA. It just reminds me with Rui Hachimura coming in to the Wizards, to expand Japan's role.
Lottery pick.
Both him and Luka are rumored to be signing like Jordan contracts. So I think that'll do pretty well to help expand the brand.
Yeah, I think
the NBA and the impact. You got Japan, Mexico, China's kind of they're on thin ice right now, but treading water. But we still got that market. I think the NBA is in a good place in terms of expanding their brand
and marketing their stars. I think they've always been really good at that. Yeah. And how do you feel about that shoe deal? Like with Jordan over like Under Armour or General Nike. Adidas.
Luka, he's been wearing different shoes, different games. Just trying to fish out and see what's going on, but. If he agreed to go with Jordan, I think they offered him a pretty significant deal. So if they can offer him his own shoe line and it's successful, I think that'd go a long way.
You think
he's got the entire European market?
Yeah, you think he'll get his own shoe, or you think they'll try to get him to boost?
I got like Luka. I feel like he's got to get his own shoe.
The 31, 32, 33, 34s.
He's a superstar in the making.
All three of us, I think we appreciate a nice pair of kicks. You know what I mean? All kinds of different brands. Would you prefer to see him rocking the 33s, 34s, 35s? No. Trying to wear some retros, or would you want to see his own line, kind of like?
No, I think definitely not retros because that's like a collector's thing at this point. If it's something he's gonna wear,
players still playing them too.
Yeah, but if it's something he's gonna play every day, it's and you're signing into liquor deal. I would assume it's to sell more of the newer sneakers.
Yeah. So you don't think he'll get his own line?
It's possible. Jordan would be the place to do it, considering that if you go to Nike, even when you look at Durant's, it's
a little oversaturation.
Really, LeBron's really the only one that has like a shoe that you can tell apart from the rest of them. KD just looks like hyper dunks. Same thing with Russell Westbrook.
Russ
the best why nots.
The best example would be Damian Lillard with Adidas. He has like an actual shoe that you can tell apart from the rest.
Well, and James Harden's got some crazy stuff going on too.
Yeah, if you put it next to another Adidas shoe, it's not like
Dame's do kind of stand alone too.
Yeah,
I like his
and the Derrick Rose shoes too.
And so the ones to do it would probably be Jordan, but he's probably gonna just roll out the 35s or something.
You think so?
Luka.
I think the caliber of the player Luka is requires him to have his own shoe.
But Zion is incredibly hyped, and it's been dampered because he hasn't been playing. But he's signed with Jordan as well, and they were saying that he was gonna probably just wear the new line and try to bump up the sales for the new line.
And they're good shoes. I mean, a lot of players are wearing the 34s that just came out. So
that number just seems kind of high. Like if it's under 20, I'm more intrigued.
I mean, it's been a long time.
The whole thing about Jordan is that it's its own brand, right? It might be a subsidiary of Nike, but the fact of the matter is it's still a Jordan. So what are you going to call it? A Jordan Luca? Like, it has two players' names in it?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, like, Melo had his own Jordans. Chris Paul had some. Russ had some that were the why
Jordans?
Yeah. Back in the day,
like
Melo had some.
Russell Westbrook is signed to Jordan, and he has a why not.
Yeah, it's a why not brand. Yeah, they have their own. Yeah,
they branch out besides the numbers.
And they're pretty good standalone shoes. Too.
They're considered a Jordan shoe?
Next week on Sneaker Watch, we'll update you.
We'll know. Yeah, we'll know for sure. But definitely in talks right now. And also, like Rui, we didn't talk much about him, but the impact culturally in Japan of Slam Dunk. They already had Slam Dunk Jordans. Like I had a pair of them.
Slam Dunk, the anime, right?
Slam Dunk, the manga. Both of them. And those are selling like for over $1,000 for the Slam Dunk 6s.
I have not seen
online.
Those.
They came out about 4 years ago.
Okay.
But yeah, those are. I can see him doing well for Japan there. So I think that's a good signing for him. But it'll be interesting to see.
Gotcha.
Yeah, y'all want to move on?
Yeah, and so something that kind of sprung up about a month ago, but we didn't bring it up on the show because I thought it was going to develop a little bit, and it actually ended up being an official NBA proposal that Jonathan brought to my attention earlier this week. You guys probably know where I'm going here, but the mid-season tournament. What the hell are we doing here? Are we with it? Are we not with it? Where are we at?
I'm with it.
You're with it. What about you, Andre?
I'm always down for more competition, man. Come on.
The playoffs have been done the same way for the last 40 something
Shake
years?
things up.
So you're saying you're not an old head? It's not like what are we gonna do with the records?
Fuck that.
Record books, point totals.
I think it's cool. You reduce the regular season, so it's not an extra. It's not like a ridiculous extra load on the players, but
So
it allows teams in smaller markets
back in my day, we used to walk uphill both ways to school, and it was all good. And Jordan played all 82 games, all fucking 15 years of his career.
How long has the 3-point line been around?
And there was a time where they shortened the 3-point line.
That's like the biggest change I've seen in like the last couple of decades. So
and like with Adam Silver here and in the past as well, like they've changed the hand checking rules. They've changed where the 3-point line was. They shortened it, brought it back out.
Challenge.
They've changed zone defense, coaches challenge. That now when you get an offensive rebound, you have 12 seconds on the shot clock. So it's not unprecedented, this kind of change, but this is probably the largest change.
This might be the biggest change since the 3-point line.
And so just to get everyone filled in for those that listen or don't get to follow the NBA as closely.
Yeah, give them the rules.
The NBA is proposing a change to the regular season schedule, possibly cutting down games and adding a mid-season
Well, that proposal
tournament.
definitely states 76 games instead of the 82. Then you'd have the 7th and 8th seed be playing games. So the 7th through the 10th seed would actually play in for those last two spots in each conference. When you get to the final four teams, meaning the Western Conference and the Eastern Conference, what would be the Eastern Conference and Western Conference final, those four teams get reseeded. So you could potentially have Eastern Conference and Western Conference not even playing each other in the semifinals and have the same conference in the finals. If we were to look at the schedule right now, it would remain the same just because, the top two teams in the West happen to be lower seeded than the Bucks. But I can think of some other seasons where, for instance, last season and
the year before, the finals were
last season you would have had Portland versus Toronto, and you would have had Golden State versus the Bucks.
And that would have been.
I said that backwards, actually. No, I said that right. Yeah. So it would have been mixed up a little bit.
Yeah, I like this more because you really
Bucks Portland.
You usually get the best teams going against each other.
Well, I just think about all the LeBron years. I always when I first read this, I thought about all the LeBron years when he would just run through the East. How many Western Conference teams that were maybe not loaded but had a puncher's chance to actually knock them off, they would have had to run through, right?
Yeah, they
would have to play the Eastern Conference Finals against the Spurs in some years.
And you look at it in that lens, and that's definitely a correct lens to look at it through. Look at how much harder it'd be for LeBron.
And then you got some West teams that are going against the East.
Right, that's what I'm saying. So the Rockets are we get to play an East team? Let's do it. They're salivating.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So man,
let's go Orlando. Let's do it.
And what we think about that final, the Western Conference Finals that went to Game 7 between the Rockets and the Warriors, right? That a lot of people were that should have been the finals because right after that, what happened? They swept them.
They destroyed a Cavaliers team that had a historic offense, which was crazy.
And the Warriors would have actually played the Cavs in the semifinals in this scenario because the Rockets had the number 1 seed.
And so to go back to the previous round before the finals rounds, if we did this today, we'd have Chicago and Detroit, Charlotte and Chicago in the playoff race in the play-in game, possibly upsetting Brooklyn and Orlando.
Yep. Well, let's look at the West.
In the West, we'd have Oklahoma City and Portland in today's 7th and 8th seeds. Having to battle
the Young
with
Kings.
Sacramento, the Young Kings.
Young Kings, man.
And,
Don't sleep on
Sacramento
them.
Kings.
And San
That'd be a
Antonio.
lot of fun to watch.
They're
And
royal.
it's like San Antonio is kind of in a downward spiral at the moment with like their talent, their depth, their defense not defending super well. But it's like, do you want to play a smart coaching staff that can adapt, versus an inexperienced?
I'm just curious as to what happens when you have the 10th and the 11th seed. Like right now, the San Antonio and Phoenix are. I guess you have the conference tiebreakers, right? The conference records, I would assume, would break the 10th and 11th seed tiebreaker.
And it kind of helps with tanking as well. It's like, you're in the 11th seed. I can like stay in the 11th seed
and have like a 2% chance of getting
higher than previous years, because they balance out those odds.
Yeah.
Or I could try to get to the 10th seed and get some gate money and host some playoff games.
What, $1 million? Was it $1 million per?
Well,
player?
This is the plan for the regular playoffs, which I'm glad you brought that up because there's also money in the in-season tournament.
That's what I wanted to talk about. We started talking about the playoffs.
So the second half of this is with the shortened season would come not a play-in tournament, but an in-season tournament. Essentially, every single division. It's a divisional round robin type of deal.
Oh yeah, Dallas winning that right now.
If any of our listeners have ever, essentially this is how soccer is run, right? You have divisions or conferences or whatever, but they'd have 6 divisions. The divisions would play each other. I don't know if it's 1 or 2 games. I would assume 1, considering they only are reducing the regular season by 6.
Yeah.
But the top seed goes on to the knockout stage, and then you have 2 wild cards, right, per se, and then you have an 8-team tournament. And the winner of that tournament, every player on the winning team gets $1 million, and the coach gets $1.5 million.
Dang.
Yeah. So it's pretty sweet.
That's awesome. And like how jaded am I? I will likely. It's very unlikely that I'll ever be a millionaire in my life. But when I heard $1 million per player. Is that enough? Is that enough motivation?
Oh, hey,
that's
care?
more.
So it's $1 million to play the same amount of games.
Yeah,
because you're reducing it by 6. If you play your division, right? Each division has 5 teams. So let's say you play each other once. That's 4 games. Knockout stage is only another 3 games because I don't think this is gonna be like best of 3. I think it's gonna be straight knockout.
So there's merit to winning this tournament as well too. Like it impacts your playoff seeding. It's
definitely one game knockout because the semifinal and the final of the in-season tournament are gonna be at a remote location. It's not gonna be at either of their either of their stadiums.
Neutral ground.
Only the first round. Only the first round with the
is it the home team?
Is the home teams. Yep.
Dang.
And then after that, it's cool. It's like a bowl, like a college
the Bahama bowl.
Yeah, whatever
Mid-season bowl.
And that's extra money. Advertisements.
I was gonna say the advertisement.
That's how they get it.
You know, Tostitos wants the bowl.
Yeah, they want that semifinal. They're gonna be fighting for it, rotating Tostitos Fiesta Bowl for basketball. That'd be actually perfect.
Oh no, I'm with you.
I mean, if you look at it, right, these teams that normally wouldn't make the playoffs. If you look at a division like the Southeast Division in the East, right? Miami, we know is strong, but then after that, it kind of huge fall off. You have Orlando, Charlotte, Washington, and Atlanta. It only takes a couple bad games from Miami, and suddenly, Charlotte is in the knockout stage, and at that point, it's one game.
Yeah,
so he's got to play
Anything
really hard.
can happen. Yeah,
it'd be pretty cool. It'd be pretty cool, and then we all know what that's gonna lead to. You're going to have the in-season tournament champion and you're going to have the NBA Finals champion, and they're going to have to play each other because they're both going to be talking shit the whole time. Who's the real champion?
Yeah, dude. I won my one game.
What do you think they would call the cup? I heard the Silver Cup. I think it fits.
That's perfect.
Cup? Yeah. Adam Silver.
Yeah, let's leave it there.
The Silver Cup. That's it. No more.
It sounds good, looks good. It's his name. It's his
man
idea.
Who created it. Yep.
Exactly.
It's just crazy because I think about 2-3 years ago when we were talking about this and we're just like, oh, that'd be kind of cool, but they're never gonna go for it. And now it's like actually been officially proposed. Like it's actually
it's
out
the
there.
Table, man.
Yeah, it's on the table for the owners to now make a decision on it. I'd be curious to see what the process behind that is. Like, do you need majority? Do you need 2/3?
I think it's going. Yeah,
2/3.
Yeah.
2/3.
2/3, like a lot of American governments.
Well, all the small markets that complain about stuff like the free agency, you think they'd be dying for this, right?
Yeah, for something like this.
Give me the money, baby.
Yeah. So I can see this going through. The earliest it would happen would be 2021-2022 season. So not next season, but the season after. Well, that's interesting. You're right. It lines up with the CBA. Let's see what the Players Association says because they'll have a say at that point too.
Yeah, but as you were saying, it's not more games. So what's the point of fighting it? You know what I mean? There's only more money to make in my view. From what
I think
know.
that at the end of the line, or at the end of it,
this could replace the All-Star game, in my opinion.
And what Andre was saying was
they could just have actual days off. No
Yeah.
All-Star break.
what Andre was saying was I was saying, is $1 million enough? And maybe to LeBron and James Harden, it's not too
but
much.
They're like, how many of them are there?
But for players,
majority of
4
players,
through 15, let's play. You know what I mean?
I think a lot of these top players would want to do that for their teammates. You would
Exactly.
think, right?
Yeah,
let's go
camaraderie.
Play and
Let's get together. Let's kind of get our playoff chops.
And it's good practice. Yeah, exactly. It's good practice for the playoffs. So you get a little bit more of a competitive environment. Yeah. I mean, I don't see anything wrong. What's bad about this?
And the real winners here. So much content for us to make.
If you think about it, let's say we just went off record right now. You'd have Boston, Milwaukee, Miami, Denver, the Lakers, and Houston. And then after that, you'd have Dallas and Clippers going in as the next 2 teams. Mm-hmm. That's a pretty sick little bracket right there. You'd have round 1, you'd have the Mavs playing the Bucks.
Yep.
Oh, we just beat them. We already won our game, man.
No,
we won.
Right. You're right.
Bucks are out.
You'd have the Mavs playing the Bucks, and then you'd have the Clippers playing the Lakers.
Yeah,
that's pretty sick.
I mean, it sounds fun.
Battle for Los Angeles.
I like
for sure.
Yeah, who doesn't want more of these matchups? If you're out there and you disagree with this, you're
because it's I've been waiting on for a week for the Clippers to play the Lakers to play the Bucks this past Thursday. Mm-hmm. But you got you're waiting for these marquee games. You just get a guaranteed marquee game one after another.
Everyone
interconference it's right
it's
here.
Like March Madness for the NBA.
I'm excited, so I'm ready for it. So
come on, 2021, let's go.
We will keep you guys posted on any further updates as far as that goes, voting or whatever, what have you.
Let us know what you think. Are you for this? I can't even think of something bad about this idea. So.
Well, one thing that I thought would be cool, and I don't want to get in a whole rabbit hole, but I was listening to the Bill Simmons podcast, and he was mentioning an idea just like this, but to make it even greater stakes, having the wins in the tournament count for extra wins in the regular season.
Dang, so bonus?
So you would be guaranteed to get the buy-in from everybody all across the board. So winning the entire tournament would give you 4 extra wins towards your playoff seeding. There's a whole, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it justice. It sounds wild, but that would be a guaranteed
super
way
incentive
to get you incentivized to give it your all. LeBron James, he wouldn't be resting. He'd be playing for those 4 wins in that one tournament. I'll have to expand on this on another episode.
So but they don't all play the same amount of games. That's the problem. Because you go to the knockout stage. Are you saying no knockout stage? If you go to knockout stage, then it's not even because they don't all play the same amount of games.
I will have to reconvene with you guys.
That'd be really difficult.
And the other thing about that is it's
no, we want to separate it from the regular season. Damn it! This has to be its own thing.
I think that separate it because you can't
Trust me, there's bragging rights behind it. If it's just for 4 games of the regular season, people are like, "Oh, well, what if the Lakers right now? They got 11 games on.
Let me come with some
injured, and it's only 1 game, so it's like
I will come with some ammo in 1 week. All right, guys, I'll be come back with this full idea fleshed out. I was just kind of
sorry, Bill.
I'm
not with it, Bill.
But
it's too much riding on 1 game.
Let's
what's the next one?
Moving on forward. So we want to kind of catch us up. We caught ourselves up on the news from the past week or so. We're looking forward to the future. We got some games that we've been betting on and some standings in our personal pick'ems. But before that, we kind of have the injury report and other general news that we want to talk about.
Yeah. So right now, I'll just go down the list. Injury report. We still got Evan Turner. He's got a hamstring injury. Be out for the next 2 days. Boston. Gordon Hayward came back, but as soon as he came back, he's struggling with some kind of foot injury. So right now, he has a game time decision for today. I think they're already playing right now. Need to pull up the score, see if he actually made it into the game. But there's a couple players like Marcus Smart. He had pink eye, moved from one eye to the other.
He was, and his doctor was saying that it's the worst day that he's ever seen.
It's crazy.
Yeah, I need this man to not have any more freak accidents.
Pink eye just feels like the worst thing you can have.
Yeah, I've never had it. Thankfully,
not literally, but it just seems like the most annoying thing to have. Yeah. You can't do anything about it.
Yeah, it's never happened to me either. But I was reading earlier in the year about how Marcus Smart, when he punched the picture frame last season and had to miss a bunch of games, the doctors were telling him that the glass that entered his hand, if it had entered his hand half an inch further, he would never be able to extend his hand again and be able to play basketball properly for the rest of his life. Yeah. So I need to
be careful.
Yeah, he's had some bad luck
to stop happening.
Yeah. I wanted to go back real quick to the Hayward injury. I think for well, the person that's going to benefit the most from this is Jason Tatum. You know, he gets a little more freedom to take more shots.
They're benefiting from both of them being out, honestly.
He hasn't been shooting super efficiently. He's down from his career totals as far as 3-pointers. He's only really up in one stat, and that's assists, which is good to see. But, you know, when you got the mama mentality, you think he's hitting some more shots.
JV is on the has the idea that Jason Tatum has been taking too many leaps out of Kobe Bryant's book from last season.
Exactly. I do think that he has taken too many leaps. I think he needs to develop his own game. Needs to not try to hero ball it, is what I told Richard the other day. We've all heard that phrase before, and I definitely think that he has that mentality that he wants to take over a game but can't quite do it. I think about the game the other night where they beat the Mavericks, and Richard, you pointed this out, but it was really more so Jaylen Brown.
Being decisive.
Yeah, making, he had some turnovers, some steals. He has some smart passes.
It feels more organic when he's
he was taking the higher percentage shots, like going to the rim, as opposed to Jason Tatum. I think he went like 2 for 9 on the night from 3, and it wasn't even anything that like he was coming off the screen or you know how sometimes you shoot in rhythm. It was more so just straight ISO. Let me dribble the ball between my legs a couple times and just pull up, and it wasn't going through. But he insisted on making it happen, and you could tell he was kind of walking. He kind of walks with that swagger sometimes, where he feels like
he's got a little bit of a big head going.
And so, as soon as he makes one, he goes off and tries to make the next 3 and misses. And I'm just like, dude, slow down and develop a different style.
Play within the game.
So Andre, what do you?
Jaylen Brown's way more poised. You can see it.
What do you think about someone that would say that the regular season, while important, is kind of a grooming or a breeding ground or somewhere where you can develop the skills of having that isolation style of play, where in the playoffs where the possessions grind down to a halt, LeBron James is stopping the game, stopping the clock. You're just dribbling up and down the court super slowly. All you have is half court offense. They're clogging up the threes. They're clogging up the driving lanes, and the most high percentage shot you can make or create is a one-on-one isolation play, and that's why Jason Tatum should be practicing this, because even though it's not a high percentage shot in the regular season, that's the highest percentage shot that you can make in the playoffs. Do you think that is kind of a fair argument for seeing that during the regular season, or do you think that that's kind of tomfoolery?
Well, it's one of those things where you got to walk before you can run, right? Mm-hmm. He needs to show that he can play within the system first before he starts working on things.
He dunked on LeBron 2 years ago.
Yeah, that was 2 years ago. And what have they done since then, right? So I don't know.
I wasn't sure what the end of that sentence was until you said 2 years ago.
Yeah, it was 2 years ago. Yeah. He's shown that he can do it in the playoffs. He did that the season before Kyrie.
But you need to be able to replicate that, or else it's just a one-off thing.
You got to get the reps, no?
Exactly.
I mean, now's the time for the reps.
So the way I see it is, there's been a lot of players that have had sparks of brilliance. I love Isaiah Thomas, but I think about the season that Isaiah Thomas. That was a whole season, right, where he was, he was playing within the system, like Andre said. He was running set plays, running around screens, distributing the ball, able to finish at the rim. He had one great season, and the next season the same, in essentially a similar scenario. It just wasn't happening. So Jason Tatum has the great, series where they almost knock off LeBron. They come back the next season. Kyrie's back in the picture. We hear all about the locker room antics, people not getting along, et cetera, et cetera. They come to the playoffs. They take one game off of Milwaukee before they get gentlemen swept. And everybody wants to blame Kyrie Irving. That's what upsets me, because it seems like, okay, where are we going to see that spark of brilliance again that supposedly made the Celtics to go off of Bill Simmons? You mentioned already. You've already said his name once. We'll say it again. He had them winning like 67 games.
Oh, yeah.
Lots of high fives.
And then they shit the bed against Milwaukee, right? They come in as the lower seed, and they shit the bed. They win one, and they get swept after that. Swept. Exactly. And so my thing is he hasn't learned to walk, right? Like you said, Andre. And everybody wants to hinge on some of those brilliant moments. Yeah. But the reality is he's not shooting efficiently. So my thing is, where are we getting this idea that Jason
Tatum's can do that?
Like
he hasn't proven he can do it consistently.
Suddenly flip a switch. Mm-hmm. You're not.
The evidence doesn't show that you can do that.
Exactly. You're not one of these great shooters. You're one of these great guys that can just create a shot out of thin air. And we've seen it time and time again. He's not Kevin Durant. He's not Steph Curry. He's not LeBron James, right? He's not
good. Even Brandon Ingram.
He is good. Right?
I agree. He's good.
But I just don't get where this idea that suddenly Jason Tatum is just going to be able to be this guy, this Mamba, right? This Kobe-like player, like
large market.
You think it's because he's in Boston?
It's definitely because he's in Boston.
I could definitely see that. I just see it, and I'm just like, because I watched the game the other night, national television, and then they do the cutoffs before they go to the commercials, and he's got that smug look because he just hit a runner. I think it was a runner. And they're like, Jason Tatum making it happen when Jaylen Brown's the one having the game.
Right.
I think that's
they ended up with equal stats. Although Jason Tatum or Jaylen Brown was a lot more efficient.
Yeah.
If you take out the 3-point shots, he wasn't hitting it from three. The threes actually dragged his percentage down. Otherwise, he would blow him out of the water. So, what do you think about the idea? So, Kyrie Irving is about to miss 15, 16 games on this current injury run with Brooklyn, and your boy Spencer Dinwiddie is looking real solid.
Yes,
facilitating, getting to the rim when he wants to, showing off his athleticism. So Kyrie missing, they're looking great. Kyrie was on the court with the Nets, they weren't looking so good. And then the year that Kyrie was not on the court,
you gonna ask me for a take on Kyrie?
Not yet. Celtics, make it to the Western Conference Finals or Eastern Conference finals. Eastern Conference Finals. I'm talking about 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Finals,
Eastern Conference
right.
Finals.
This past season comes around and you're like, Jason Tatum's not in a rhythm. Kyrie's back. Kyrie was never gone for 3 weeks. Yeah. He was never gone for a month.
Okay.
So it was like he's in the game. He's in for 2 games. He's out for 2 games. In for 2 games. There was never that time for him to kind of get in the flow. And so
they're not good now because of him. They're good. I mean, they are in part, but we all know that the best player on the team is Kemba. Like Kemba's the reason that's
something I wanted to come back to. Is like the Boston Celtics. They have a lot of talent. Historically, 2 years ago, they had a lot of talent. The problem was people don't know their roles, and everyone wants the ball and shoot the ball up.
They play better when
the reason
Kemba
why
is running the offense.
Tatum's putting up all these shots, but you got a better player who's suited to do that in Kemba Walker, who's obviously their best player.
There's one thing that Kyrie does that I think is better than Kemba Walker, and I don't think anybody can argue with me.
Dribbles?
No, dribbling, but there's a second thing. He's just a craftier finisher around the rim. It doesn't matter.
That's his thing. Yeah.
He might be one of the craftiest of the.
So when you put the wall up around the rim, Kemba's not going to finish there. He's going to pass because he's here to facilitate. He's like, hey,
you play in the system. You're ready to catch that pass and take your shot.
Right. So I kind of feel like this is where you were going with the Brooklyn thing, talking about Dinwiddie and then kind of referencing, Kyrie not there, blah blah blah. Right. I get what you're trying to say. You're kind of trying to infer. We can infer that maybe Kyrie is part of the problem, but that's not what they're trying to do in Boston. Yeah, that's not what they're trying to do in Brooklyn.
Yeah.
Let's stop pretending like this season is what Brooklyn's all about. Go ahead, Spencer Dinwiddie, do your thing.
Do your thing. Just
build your value.
Put the reps up.
Maybe you'll get a good contract later down the road. That's all good and dandy for you. That's not what Brooklyn's future is. Brooklyn's future is the 1-2 punch of him and KD. And they're going to be more than happy to have Kyrie take those shots.
They're taking a sabbatical right now.
Yeah.
I'm saying.
Yeah. That's not like
it's player development, man.
Why are we analyzing Brooklyn like this is what they're looking to be?
I was comparing Brooklyn to Boston in the sense of what they're doing.
I'll reverse what your logic for Boston was. Do they really care about the regular? They don't really care about this season. Brooklyn didn't really care about this season. Right. Everybody's waiting on KD. It doesn't even matter. Kyrie, go out there and shoot 40 shots. Who cares? We all know that when KD comes back next year, that's the real team that we're throwing on the court.
Yeah.
So, no, don't. I wouldn't say that Kyrie is a problem.
This is a lot to.
I know you didn't
That's
say
not
that.
what I was saying.
I know you didn't say it.
I was talking about Jason Tatum.
One could infer that.
For those of you that are inferring that, JV is saying Kyrie's not the problem.
He's not.
Or not a problem they're worried about.
Kyrie on the Celtics is not the problem.
We freaking jumped from Gordon Hayward injury to this.
Yep.
Who else is on that list, Andre?
Well, yeah. So Marcus Smart out for a long time. He should have been back by now, but yeah, they're not quite sure when he's going to be back. So expect to miss him for a while. He's going to affect their defensive playmaking a little bit. So you're going to see more Jason Tatum. Moving on to the Nets. Speaking of, Kyrie Irving missed 15 games already with the shoulder injury. Yeah, they're saying he's still expected to be out to at least after December 16th, along with Karis LeVert and Nicholas Claxton with thumb and hamstring injuries respectively. But I mean, that's a long time without Kyrie.
Yeah.
And
kind of to
historically, he's a player who's known for missing a lot of games. But
kind of to re-summarize, if I could say this is the best time this could happen to him.
Yeah,
right. Jared Allen, I was about to mention Spencer Dinwiddie, all those guys get all the all the limelight.
I mean, they have a talented deep squad,
season,
right?
Exactly.
And they're not expecting to compete right now anyway.
This is a trial run. This is definitely a trial
run.
So yeah. So I think this is the best time for that to have happened to Kyrie if it was gonna happen.
Yeah. And the way that when you look at the sideline and Kyrie Irving in timeouts and just all the times that he's on the bench, it's like sometimes the entire Brooklyn team is talking, and then Kyrie's over here talking to Kevin Durant. It seems so analytical in a way that it seemed to me in Cleveland that year, right before he came to the Lakers.
Who we keeping?
Huh?
Who we keeping?
Exactly, exactly. It seems just like that to me, where they make that trade at the trade deadline, trade away Isaiah Thomas, and then George Hill comes and everyone's like, "We got a squad now, baby." They're analyzing.
If you look at and you know what I like is when they're running guys, because Dinwiddie's a little bit. I don't want to say he's undersized, but he's not your typical, what I would call a typical point guard. That contributes obviously to his speed and how quickly he can move around and attack the rim, but just this the fact that you don't have ball dominant Kyrie, and of course KD's not out there. Have you guys seen DeAndre Jordan?
Yeah, I just watched him
I
miss
feel like
the wide open dunk.
Bit. Yeah, but did you see how he got up there though?
Yeah.
He might have missed it, but he's looking a little more springy. Hey man, I'm trying to give him some props over here. You're just looking at me like
I'm not a fan.
Well, he just looks a little bit more athletic than last year because he lost a lot of weight last year, right? And that's where people were like, can he really do what he did when he was in Lob City? He's looking a little bit more springy, like he's revving up for next season. Another guy that's
what I would describe as spry, which is the same thing, but people only say spry when you're talking about old people. You're not calling a young guy spry.
Oh, he ain't exactly young either.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying he's old. So
he's spry.
Next year he'll still be spry, maybe, but that means you're old.
He's got to be a glass cleaner next year.
Yeah. Oh, especially with Kevin Durant there. Kevin Durant is smarter on defense.
Kevin Durant is great at everything. I think we can.
And I hope he can still stay great. That's what I'm hoping for.
He'll be fine.
Yeah.
So I want to see some East Coast battles.
Nets missing some players, but they'll be good moving forward.
Possibly.
Let's move on down to Dallas. We got two game time decisions between DeLon Wright and Seth Curry with finger and back injuries, respectively. I think the big announcement is, since we haven't met in a while, is Luka Doncic going down with an ankle injury against the Miami Heat.
Initial prognosis was multiple weeks.
Multiple weeks, but they're saying at least out through the game after Christmas, which is against San Antonio. So hopefully we get him back before the new year, but we've been doing well without him so far. Carlisle has been proving that he's an elite coach and that this team is deep, and we've still got the number two offense without the number two offense without Lucas, so we're doing something right.
The bench is crazy.
I am personally not happy that he got hurt, but I'm happy
honestly
that now we have been able to see what I've been talking about with Kristaps Porzingis. We will actually see his skill on display. We can actually show the people. He can actually show people what his talent was, why he was an all-star early on in his career so quickly, and really what his full arsenal of tools is. I think too many people, and Twitter is one thing. You go on Twitter and people just talk shit about anything, but all you see is he's soft. Why can't he drive hard to the rim? He's not as good as he was. He's overrated, overpaid. Why did they max him? He's made of glass. Blah blah blah. Right, et cetera, et cetera. But they just beat they ended the Milwaukee Bucks win streak. Yeah, they had a close one against the Celtics where they were leading
close game against Celtics,
and then
comeback loss against the Heat in overtime when they were down 24 points at halftime.
That was the game that Luka got injured.
Yeah, that's when he got injured.
Luka got injured.
But I mean, when you talk about the last three games they played the Bucks, they played the Celtics, and they played the.
And they've beaten the 76ers, guys.
Yeah, and the 76ers, which was yesterday.
They beat those three on your roster and on your line on your schedule, and you're missing your best player, and you take two. And
you're playing them on the road.
That's really good. But I just like that they've given Kristaps Porzingis, and I think you have to, right? When Luka's gone, you have to give him more freedom to try some new things. And Richard, you mentioned this a couple podcasts ago, or a couple weeks ago to me, that he was told directly, by his training staff, and so you're 100%, don't bang in the paint, right? Mm-hmm. And we all know that he can do that, but he's also taking a lot more freedom from the 3-point line, and he's shooting it with confidence. Like,
dude, the pull up he did, the back to back against the Bucks, that killed them.
Nobody tell me that anybody's shooting from the logo unless they're shooting from the spot that Kristaps Porzingis pulled from. Because when Trae Young's shooting from the logo and Lillard is logo Lillard. But if they're not physically
touching on the logo,
in the logo, you're not on the logo, bro. Like that was the Bucks have a big logo, but he was shooting from it.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
But I'm just happy that it's been on display on national TV. People could see that he's the real deal. He got KD called him the unicorn for a reason. Yeah. It wasn't just by accident. And now Dallas was already being taken seriously because Luka was making his MVP case. But now you gotta look at
you
Dallas
see that
and
they were
say,
strong without him.
We got this duo, this true duo.
And so what I think would be the scariest for, let's say the Mavericks hang on to their top seed, their top 4 seed, and they get to the second round
right now,
if they get up to the top 4 and get to hang on to it, or if they're in the bottom seed and they're trying to fight against a 4 or a 3 or a 2 seed, what I think would be the scariest thing is knowing one track record of Rick Carlisle's excellence in terms of adjustments, like the series against San Antonio where it went to Game 7 on that Vince Carter game winner comes to mind. Adjusting with the dynamism of Kristaps, Porzingis, and Luka Doncic, and then being able to plug in, so a bench is very positive during the regular season, right? But then people want to say, oh, well, that's the negative during the playoffs because you cut your rotation down to 8 players. But the fact that you can put in different players, Seth Curry, DeLon Wright, Dwight Powell if he's having a good game,
Tim Hardaway Jr.
if he's on fire. Yeah. You put these different guys in, gives you different looks. And so while it may be a short rotation, 7-8 guys, you don't know who's going to be thrown at you at that time. Maxi Kleber in
even Boban, certain matchups,
a defensive wrench. Boban is super efficient. So having
Carlos is real smart when he brings him in.
Yes.
Have you noticed he always brings him in against Dwight?
Big defenders without
that don't want to space
point
him out,
guards.
That don't want to space him out. Yeah. Exactly. So just the fact that it's like a multi-tool. There's so many things available, and Rick Carlisle seems to know how to use so many different spots of it. That's the scariest thing, aside from Kristaps, Porzingis, and Luka Doncic. So I don't think should the Mavericks make the playoffs, as Jonathan and I predicted
I'm
they
glad
wouldn't.
you said that because I wanted to address that whole thing with the Mavericks, right?
It's the whole
because we've been tweeted at about how they said they don't have them in the playoffs.
Shout out to Christian Fuller.
Yeah, I mean hindsight's 2020, but of course we also have to taper our expectations. Mm-hmm. We have to definitely taper our expectations because we're not fortune tellers, guys. Yeah. We take what we have, right? And we have a guy coming off of 20 months not playing basketball, ACL tear, one of the worst injuries you can have. You have Luka in his second year, sophomore year.
Yeah, we thought he was good, but no one thought he would. Yeah, no one saw him. If
anybody tells you that they knew he was going to be playing MVP basketball, they are lying. Yeah. So you have to taper expectations, right? You have a loaded West that not only got stronger, so definitely you got to taper that. That's not to say that we knew that Luka was going to be that good. Obviously, we had him missing the playoffs. But how many people had him, in the MVP race as a sophomore? How many sophomores have ever even been in an MVP race before? This guy is out of this world. Nobody knew he was going to be this good. There's a reason he wasn't drafted number 1, even though the people that did analyze and had him as number 1, even they
understood why he didn't go.
Yeah,
right?
But I don't even think they figured he'd be this good this fast. So yes, we have to taper our we have to have our reservations about where the Mavericks would end up. Even Andre, who had them in the playoffs, where did you have him, Andre?
I had him at the 7th or 8th seed.
7th or 8th seed. So of course we got to taper expectation, guys. We're not going to homer over here the whole time. We got to take what we have and assess it.
I'll do it now.
If I have to say, it's a nice surprise to say that we have yet another team in the West or in the NBA period that is exciting to watch night in, night out, that can be on national television, that gets constantly put in spotlight now. Mm-hmm. Richard was saying you can book it that the Mavericks are going to have a Christmas game next year,
hosting a Christmas game.
And now you got a duo that is international, right? 2 guys from Europe that really, they just were in Mexico and they made a huge splash there. This is good for the game, but nobody knew that. Nobody could have said they have expected.
What was the line that excited everybody, Andre, that Lucas said?
Oh, I can't do it. Buenos
Viva
noches.
He said, Viva Mexico way.
Oh, Viva Mexico way. Oh, yeah, the way.
Exactly.
Yeah. But, yeah, he's a rock star. Yeah. He's a rock star for sure. For sure.
When he's going to get his own shoe, too.
Yeah. I thought he'd be this good maybe after his rookie
5
contract.
years?
Yeah. After his rookie contract.
But let's
re-sign this guy. And now,
if he's this good now, just imagine.
He's way ahead of anybody's expectations.
Any developmental curve that I could have predicted for most players.
If you looked at the trajectory, he is on a higher trajectory than even LeBron. Yeah. If you look at if we had a chart right here, they're both doing this, but look slightly right.
His sophomore season is even way better than LeBron. It's crazy. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, the amount of triple doubles. We can go on and on about his accolades, but we're still on the injury report.
Injury report. Let's moving on. We're making our way through the D's. We got a ways to go, guys. All right. So Detroit. That whole team is fucking injured. Like,
give us the big fish, Andre. Just give us all the big fish.
I'm just going. Yeah, I'm cutting some out because some of them aren't worth mentioning. Like
we're on the D's.
Like Denver, you got Millsap, but it's like game time decision. Who cares? But like you got all of Detroit: Griffin, Rose, Jackson, Wood, Thomas. They're out until like end of December, January and stuff. 3 of them are knee injuries. So
do they have enough guys to?
They need to get a new knee guy because you got 3 guys with knee injury.
Wait, which?
Derrick Rose.
Oh man, if Golden State can make it happen.
Yeah. Hey, Golden State, man. Eric Paschal, he's a game time decision, but yeah, outside of him, like Golden State's whatever, they're good. Houston, same. Not much has changed. Indiana, yeah. So Domantas Sabonis, he's a game time decision for tonight. He has been. Jeremy Lamb's been doing not too bad either. Sabonis these past few days or these past few weeks,
money baby, touch around the rim,
man,
great passes,
man,
setting good screens on offense. Man, I love that guy.
Yeah, and they say he's got hit, but I think he'll probably play.
Coming into the season, I was telling you guys, I was like, they're gonna play 2 centers, Miles Turner and Sabonis, 2 bigs. What's gonna happen? Who's gonna stand out? And Miles Turner, even coming off that Team USA berth, like he just looks like he doesn't know what he's doing on offense, man. He looks lost out there.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to shoot. I don't look confident in Sabonis. I would have thought that it wasn't going to be him. I thought they were going to trade Sabonis away. I might have even predicted that earlier in the season, but looking great. And just imagine what Oklahoma City's thinking. They traded away Oladipo and Sabonis together.
Yeah, and now they're both looking like all-stars, right?
Paul George is not on the team anymore. That's who they traded him for.
Yeah, so, well, I don't think OKC's turning too bad. They got a lot of picks.
Yeah,
but,
that's for sure. But
Indiana's looking like a legit team now. I'm interested to see how they come.
Oklahoma is a playoff team right now.
No, that's for sure too. The point guard in full effect.
Yeah.
JV was saying Chris Paul is a douche in a lot of people's eyes, but I like him. That's what he was saying. I like him too.
I like him.
I mean, he's a dude you'd want on your team, definitely, absolutely.
You don't want him not on your team. He's causing this jersey untucking epidemic.
Oh yeah, get him.
Thanks, Chris.
That guy's smart, man.
He does. He does anything it takes to win.
He's definitely read the refs rule book as well as James Harden has too.
I mean, a guy that small, you got to do what you can.
Yeah,
he's not a big player, so he's got to do everything he can to get the win.
You know who else used to read the refs book? I saw this
Kobe.
week. Kobe.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
So he read the rule book and he knew where the refs had to stand. So he knew where the angles were cut off so that they couldn't see like a jersey pull or something like that, and he would take that off.
Elbowing someone in the ribs.
Exact same thing with Michael Jordan hitting that shot over Cleveland. He knew that ref was not looking at his left hand because he was on the right side. So he got a little push. That's what made that shot probably go in. So you have to exercise every advantage. That's what any winner will
Knowledge
tell
is
you.
a skill.
Yeah. So.
Exactly.
That's it for Indiana. Indiana, great, Chris Paul, but
big fish, Andre. Big fish. Just go on and skim that list.
All right, yeah. Kawhi's game time decision for tonight.
Man, that guy's always game time decision.
Yeah, that's for sure.
It stays GTD.
But the big one actually is LeBron. So he's got a rib injury he sustained.
Thoracic.
Yeah, it's like some kind of muscular rib thing, like when he rotates his torso.
Does that happen?
He got that against the Bucks, and he played through it.
Is that what happens when you lose 2 in a row?
I think so.
Is that like a result?
Yeah.
I heard that was a symptom.
It reminds me a little bit of when
he took psychological damage. Like so.
It's when it's like when J.R. Smith had that brain fart in game 1 of the finals. LeBron punched that whiteboard, but didn't put the cast on until he lost.
Yeah.
Kind of reminds me of that. So
yeah, you might be right. I wouldn't even think about it like
LeBron
that.
is superhuman.
But
I don't believe any injury he has.
They say he might. Well, they say he might miss a few.
Remember,
games,
their
so
whole goal was not to lose 2 in a row, and coincidentally, they lose 2 in a row, and we got an injury.
Yeah. Y'all got the spins. I wouldn't even think about that. I'm honest. I'll take people at their word.
No, he probably is hurt. He's getting older, man. He's getting older. Yeah. I just like to throw that shit.
Hey guys, unless you wanted to know, Andre Iguodala is not injury related, but he's gonna be out.
He's just sitting.
Yeah, he's out.
Call that the IR.
And so that kind of makes me a little curious because he's obviously a trade target for a lot of teams that want to put themselves over the top. The Clippers, the Lakers, but like, how do you know he's going to be good? He's had a history of injury. You know what I mean? He's played in the Golden State Warriors system for the past several years. He's obviously super smart, super talented, knows exactly what's going to happen on the floor at a lot of times. Obviously, scouts very well. But just how do you know the body's going to hold up? He has not been conditioning himself throughout this season. So is he going to be ready when it comes to playoffs?
So reports have said that if he does leave Memphis, it would still be on the buyout. I know you just said trades. But it would happen on a buyout. And in that case, He's worth it.
Yeah.
He's
On the buyout for sure, but Memphis is confident, man.
Yeah, I mean,
they're trying to get something.
Stay strong, Memphis.
Yeah.
I'm with you. But the reports are that if it happens, it would be on a buyout. I hope they stay strong. Don't trade them, and because like you said at the beginning of the season, like why are we gonna help out the other teams? Like like go figure it out. Do it the right way.
Yeah. But moving on to the other big fish back in Milwaukee, Eric Bledsoe. I don't know if that was announced last show. I don't think so. It's been a minute, but yeah, he's got lower leg injuries out until at least December 30th. But they've been playing well without him. They've been playing really well without him.
Am I getting the players mixed up? Broken leg, like a very
lower,
small
just
fracture.
lower.
Okay,
Yeah.
I heard of a fracture in somebody in Milwaukee, but anyway.
Yeah, they've been doing well without him. They haven't been missing him at all. I mean, they probably could have used him on the Mavericks, but I don't think it would have helped.
George Hill's been playing out of
that guy. God, he's leading the league in 3-point percentage. I think he's shooting like 52%, 56%.
There's one guy. I don't know if you guys heard of him.
And LeBron's probably thinking, what the hell? Where was this on Cleveland? But I guess Giannis is
like,
a little bit better.
If I asked you how old George Hill was, what would you say?
I would say
29.
33.
He's exactly 33. Exactly. But he's secret. He looks like he's under 30 right now. Yeah. Looks young. He's playing well. So I would have fooled me.
Yeah. Cat's out with a knee injury until at least December 23rd. So Minnesota's going to be missing him. I think they're playing tonight too.
So this should be the last game he misses.
Yeah. And then you got Andre Robertson, man. We have not heard about him.
And that makes me sad.
Because
it went from like being ready to start the season, and now
I feel like he's missed an entire NBA generation. Like a lot has changed since he's went out, right?
Yeah.
Like the saga changed.
Two
like
bigs.
the saga's in him. He's like old.
It feels like he hasn't played since Kevin Durant left, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And
that
so,
season he came back. Yeah.
And it's like it went from wanting to start training camp to undetermined start. So it's going backwards. It's regressing, and I hope he gets to play again. Who knows? So, thoughts up for that, man.
Yeah. Yeah. So Al-Farouq Aminu, he had was it an ACL?
Yeah, he's still out from last time.
Yeah, it wasn't an ACL. He's out until at least February. But yeah, he had a pretty big injury not too long ago, December 1st. Orlando's gonna miss him a bit.
Thoughts to him too. He follows me on Twitter.
Ayton just came back, and now he's out with an ankle injury, so he might be back on the 23rd. But he's not playing tonight,
right?
So that'll be interesting. And then you got Ricky Rubio, who's also sick, so maybe he'll be back on the 23rd. Portland, Rodney Hood. I don't know. Did we mention that last time? He tore his Achilles. He's out for the rest of the season. Mm-hmm. Portland, actually, they got tax exemption for him being out. Kind of hurts their depth, man. A team that's already struggling to lose him.
At least they got that Melo signing.
Hey, no, they don't have Carmelo because he has a knee injury. He's not going to be back till December 3rd. So, and then
31st,
December 23rd. So, like 2 days. But Bogdan Bogdanovic for Sacramento also out with an slight ankle sprain. So he's out till December 23rd. And Toronto, these guys they're really taking it right now. Growing's killing them. Stanley Johnson. Pascal Siakam out to January 1st at least. Thomas out to January 1st with a finger injury. Norman Powell, who's been like their second best scorer over the past few weeks, out with a shoulder injury.
He had a thunderous dunk, man.
Yeah.
Like he had a dunk so good I came up with a whole line. Like, man, something Storm and Norman brings the thunder.
He does it, man.
Damn.
That's the homie, man.
That was wild.
And then the anchor of their defense, Marc Gasol, is out with a hamstring injury until at least December 31st. So, Toronto, they've got their work cut out for them right now. It's just going to be Laurie, Van Fleet, OG, and Ibaka for a bit. But fortunately for them, they're still pretty deep, so hopefully they can weather this storm. But it's going to be hard for them. Mike Conley with the Jazz.
Unfortunate because they've been struggling pretty hard.
Yeah, so it hurts to see him out for this long, at least to December 30th. They're already struggling integrating him. And Utah fans, they'll generally say that Snyder runs a pretty complex offense. Mm-hmm. So that's probably why Mike's struggling. That and the lack of spacing, and he's usually a driver.
Yeah, something that I was listening to from David Locke, he's a Jazz, basically beat reporter. He runs a podcast network, was talking about how covering Mike Conley in Memphis and covering him in Utah, that where he would be playing with Marc Gasol, Mike Conley would be, and he'd be getting the pass to Marc Gasol for the pick and pop,
right,
or get the floater.
Right.
Timing's totally off because because Rudy Gobert is looking
Can't
for
shoot.
He can't shoot, so he's looking for the lob.
Yeah.
Doesn't shoot very many lobs, or doesn't throw very many lob passes. The last time he got a lob pass was from Brandon Wright. Brandon Wright, former Maverick, springy dude. Remember him?
Oh yeah.
But the thing is, the lob pass comes in timing as far as the offense goes after Mike Conley likes to shoot his floater.
Yeah.
So it's like, do I shoot the floater or do I wait to see if this is going to develop? And that timing just isn't
Yeah,
coming.
it hasn't clicked with him yet.
And
right?
it needs to continue developing, but he's not on the court. So
Yeah.
what's going to happen?
Yeah, they're really struggling with that, man. You really need another ball handler there who can, create some offense besides just Mitchell driving and kicking. So hurts to see him go out, but and now we're
at the T's. No,
yeah.
I was kidding.
Oops, I forgot a couple. This last team, Washington. Yeah, they got like 10 dudes on this list.
Those dudes are fun, man.
Bertans, he's actually
he's
a game time decision, but that dude, man, did you see him spit Markieff Morris?
Dude, he just shoots.
They were going at it, man.
Yeah, he just shoots straight into the air and it goes in. Like no matter who's there.
Yeah.
Like he gets the ball and two guys run straight at him because you need to double this man, and then he just makes the easy pass coming from the Spurs system and leads to easy buckets.
Yeah,
that's why their
Spurs are
so
missing
high.
him right now, man.
Oh,
they
for
are
sure.
so pissed.
Why would you ever make a trade for him away to sign Marcus Morris for $15 million, which he reneged on? Anyway,
yeah. So
that's
him,
it for the
Mo Wagner, Rui Hachimura, both out till December 28th, and that's about it.
Okay.
That does it for the injury report, y'all.
You ready to move on to our picks? Because
any of you guys at home are injured, let us know.
Yeah, let us know. We'll get you
we
on
will
here.
add you to this list.
Even if you're like healed by the time we record next time, just let us know. Give you a shout out. Paper cut, it's whatever, dog.
We're gonna move on to our pick'em segment. So, as you guys know, we haven't been here in a couple of weeks, and we're gonna recap really quickly just the scores from
our standings.
our standings. So, in first place, we got Richard, who hit both of his
upsets, baby.
He hit his upset and both of his even games. Then me and Andre both hit both of our head-to-head games, but missed on our underdog. So we're 2 points behind Rich because those underdog picks are worth 2 points. Seeing as how we fell a little bit behind and we only have about 10 days left in the month, we are going to go ahead and up the amount of games that we're picking for this week. So it's going to be about 10 days worth of games. We're going to have 3 even games and 2 upset picks. So, Rich, you might be ahead by 2 points, but that can quickly change.
Yeah, with these underdogs.
Because we have 5 total games as opposed to 3. So, 2 additional games.
If memory serves, going perfect the first week bit me in the ass last month. Like that.
It did make you pick last this round.
Yeah.
So, let's go ahead and go through our picks, guys. You got them in front of you? Andre, you did it? I can go first if you need me to.
I can go first.
Go for it.
And I'll go ahead and go through all 5 of mine.
Yeah.
Let's just go around and do that. All right, so I'll start with my underdogs. First one, I like the Denver Nuggets versus the Los Angeles Lakers. They're going to be in L.A. If LeBron is actually injured, that helps me with this. But I like Denver's depth. Jokic is actually in full form right now.
He's looking better. That's for sure.
He's looking a lot better, like he was last year. More enthused, has been shooting better, creating better, less turnovers, and he's had more energy on the court, so he hasn't been getting tired. I like him playing better, and then I just appreciate the depth of Denver over the Lakers. Lakers usually struggle offensively when LeBron's not out there. Caruso and Rondo. Rondo's been effective, but they're just not as good. It's not comparable to when LeBron's out there. So I like Denver to make up that gap with LeBron not on the court. So I went with them. The next underdog pick is the Houston Rockets at Sacramento. I had to pick an underdog team, and Houston, they're kind of inconsistent. Sacramento's been playing good recently, especially with De'Aaron Fox coming back. I saw him jump over a guy 2 days ago.
Crazy.
Dude is athletic as fuck, but I like I like Sacramento in this case. I don't expect Houston, like, they're a good team, but they don't fire on all cylinders every time. Like, they're very much reliant on James Harden really getting going and Russell Westbrook not making bad mistakes. So if Sacramento can, kind of contain Westbrook, force him to take some bad shots, and if Harden has an off game, because they're going to be in Sacramento, I like the Kings. And then let's go to some of our even matchups. The first one is Toronto Raptors at Indiana. Indiana's been the hot team in the East. They're one of the hottest teams in the East right now. I feel like this should be an underdog, especially with Toronto being injured. Like, we just went over injury report. 4 of their 5 starters are injured. And with Indiana playing as hot as they have been recently, it's common sense to take them.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like I don't even have to go into the matchup. It's just the easy pick, man. Like, I don't know. But yeah, I'll go to my next one. So Washington at the Knicks. Knicks have been playing better most recently. I think they were 3-3 the other day. I haven't checked the rankings recently, but they've been playing better since Fizdale's been fired, which you don't like to see. But I do like, Knicks fans, getting a little bit of reprise from their endless turmoil despite beating the Mavericks twice. But I like Washington's offense more, and Knicks kind of have an inconsistent offense as well. It's usually just Julius Randle just like doing whatever he wants. Yeah, both of them just doing whatever they want, and if it works, it works. But if not, it doesn't. Rui being out could hurt them. Washington, they are missing quite a few players, but Bradley Beal, like, he's a super competitor. I feel like even without them, they should still be good enough to handle the Knicks, even though they're playing in the Garden. And then my last one is the LA Clippers at the Los Angeles Lakers. Still a home match
for the Lakers.
I mean, it's always a home match against the Lakers, but Clippers have shown that they can handle at least. Well, the first game doesn't really count because the Lakers hadn't figured out their offense yet, but the depth of the Clippers, it comes to that same thing, right? LeBron's gonna have to play all these minutes to keep the offense flowing consistently.
Yeah, I mean,
but the Clippers have one more wing defender to throw them. They didn't even have Paul George the first time. So now you can switch between Paul George and Kawhi, kind of, spread them out. And you can always have one of them creating and, having an offensive threat even when LeBron's not on the floor. So I value their offensive potential more than the Lakers, even though Lakers are an elite defensive team as well, especially with AD locking down the paint. But
I hope everybody plays.
The depth of the Clippers, man. That's what's going to kill them. The Lakers really need their other players to hit shots.
The only thing I've seen the Clippers be susceptible to is when you have somebody who can a ball dominant player who just goes off, like has a big shooting night. That's overly simplified, right? Oh yeah, shoot really well and you can beat the Clippers. But as long as you shoot efficiently, you take care of the ball, because they actually got beat by the Rockets a couple of days ago. I believe it was Wednesday. If you look at that game, Houston turned the ball over a lot less, and that's not typical because you have James Harden
and Russell Westbrook.
But Russell Westbrook shot.
He had a very good
game. He shot over 50% from 3. Missed one free throw. We were talking about how surprised we were about his career free throw percentage, but he shot very well from the free throw line. He was actually a leading scorer, so the ball was in his hands. So showing that the Rockets can win with Russell Westbrook being the main contributor. So that bodes well for them.
I don't want to go too deep into that game, but I think that's ideal scenario for the Rockets is you have Russ do his thing the entire first 3 quarters, and you have Harden come in and clean up at the end. So I think that was a perfect scenario for them, perfect storm. But yeah, especially in this Clippers game, they got Landry Shamet back, so he was injured for a while there.
Watch out, baby!
Knockdown 3-point shooter. Lakers they're a drive and kick game, but they just haven't been shooting the 3 ball consistently. So if they can't do that, then they don't stand a chance. Yeah.
Yeah, the last 2 games they lost. They had a 32% night against the Rockets and like a 28% night against the Bucks from 3. Yeah. You're not gonna win games.
You're not
nowadays with that kind of 3-point.
LeBron being taking
you don't
the most
have to shoot
winning.
a bunch of threes, but when you do, you gotta make sure you're getting good looks.
Yeah,
that's the thing. They just don't have enough guys that can do that. When you gotta count on guys like KCP to drain threes, like, man, you just light a candle and pray because you don't know what's gonna happen. I'll go on to my picks. So for the underdogs, first game I have is the Jazz at Miami. So I think the Jazz still have that potential. I've always called them the dark horse before the season started. They have that potential to win on any given night. You just have to really reduce the amount of mistakes they make, particularly in the paint. So if you watched a couple of their last games, what will happen is it's almost like they're trying to overly distribute the ball, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times when you dish it into, and we talked about this with KP, right? When you try to force the ball inside, you can't really put the ball on the floor. So that'll happen sometimes with Rudy Gobert. They'll dish it in. When in reality, probably the better, smarter thing to do would be to just take the mid-range jumper, right? So it can be one of those things. And we know Quinn Snyder's a great coach, so he just kind of has to stick to what's worked in the past few years, run the pick and roll, and have confidence in his wings and his guard and his entire backcourt really to drain the outside jumpers as opposed to trying to force stuff inside. But it's just been really bad. Bojan had a terrible 3-point night against the I can't think of the team they were playing against, but you have Bojan only making 1 3, for a night. Like that's
yeah, especially on a team when he's like
if Joe Ingles isn't shooting as well, he's been on the come up a little bit. But if neither of them are going,
they're not gonna win very many games. So I have them being able. I mean, it's an underdog pick, but I think they can handle Miami. They have really strong on-ball defenders. I mean, Jimmy Butler's one of the best, but I think this is a situation where if you get going early, you get the early lead, protect the ball. I think the outside shooters like Bojan and Joe Ingles can really expose them early on. The other game I had circled in actually happened today, so I'm switching it because it's already over. These are all supposed to be future games. But the other game that I have on here, I am taking, and this is contrary to what Rich has said week in, week out, I'm picking Golden State to beat Minnesota. And Golden State is at home.
May the force
Minnesota is on a 10-game losing streak, so I'm gonna ride that wave. And I think Golden State can take care of business at home.
If they lose to Golden State after a 10-game lose, that's like you delete the team at that point. Like they're gone.
So I'm hoping
they're going to Mexico City.
You look at the West.
So you have Cat as being out through the 23rd. So it might not play that game. So if that continues, I think they.
If he's not playing it, they're definitely.
Eric Pascal, he's a very middle.
Well, he's injured too. So.
Yeah. Wait. When does he injure through though?
I think it was the 20. Actually, you're right. He might be the 23rd.
I think he might be back. If not, I mean the bigger of the two losses right there is Karl Anthony Towns. So I pick Golden State to get that win. Rich, you said never pick. It's easy to pick against them. I'll pick
against them, but
for my even games, first game is gonna be I'm gonna continue to ride the Dallas wave. Dallas continues to do well for me in these picks, so I went ahead and snuck that out from you guys.
Oh man, I wanted that one.
I picked Dallas at Toronto. Last time it was Toronto and Dallas, and I picked Toronto to win on the road, and I was wrong there. So now I'll pick Dallas to win on the road.
I hope you're right.
Dallas does very well on the road, so.
We only lost 2 road games.
They really have been,
yeah. So Dallas, I think they'll continue that stride. For a lot of the same reasons they were able to beat the Philly. They're just very good at. So when you look at the game against Philadelphia, right? They were beating them on the boards. That was probably the biggest differentiator. Is they were doing real well on the boards, and they typically do. We're actually like the Mavericks, I believe, are top 5 in offensive rebounding, so they can just do that every single time. They have a lot of big dudes, that actually hustle. Something that the Mavericks haven't had in the past, Rich. They just don't have tall dudes that can go grab boards.
Tall dudes.
Now they have the tallest dude, right? And a couple other guys that are 6'10" or taller that can also sweep up clean the glass. The other game I have is Atlanta and Cleveland. I just have no faith in Cleveland to win a game, especially with
I feel like that one's a coin flip
with Kevin Love not wanting to really be there.
And I think Atlanta will have John Collins back by then, so maybe the shooting will fix stuff.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's been 25 games now. Yeah.
And then lastly, I'll pick the team that has the MVP of the 2019-2020 season. Yes, I'm talking about this year. He's gonna lock that up. I think after the display he put on in LA,
I think it's a wrap.
Giannis will clearly be the MVP this year. So I picked them to handle Philadelphia on the road.
It's crazy to say that. It's like December 21st and everyone's pretty much sold on Giannis already.
He put the crown on. Am I going to disrespect him by saying he shouldn't? No.
Where's the hole in his game?
Have you looked at him?
After that game, that was perfect. There ain't no holes.
Just look at the man.
Maybe fouling.
I would not walk up to him.
He almost fouled out. But
so in the Mavericks game, because people will say, well, they just lost to the Mavericks. Richie and I were watching that game.
They almost came back.
Well,
they would have won if Bud didn't pull him out early.
Exactly. Budenholzer pulled him out with 4 minutes left?
It felt like.
And they were only down by 8.
Yeah.
And it's like, you can still win this game.
And he was like, oh, snap, put him back in.
He put him in with a minute and a half. And they're like, now they're trying to scramble for the last couple points to win. They ended up losing by 3. No, dude, ride your guy to the end. He had 46 points before that, granted. But, you have a chance to win this game. Why is Giannis on the bench? So, I think that was more of a mishap on Budenholzer's count than really Giannis not being able to perform because he had the numbers. Those are my picks.
Yeah, so I guess I'll start with the underdogs. New Orleans at Portland, Monday, December 23rd. I'm taking New Orleans. Portland looking kind of shaky. They had the injury to Rodney Hood. Who knows what you're going to get out of Hassan Whiteside chasing blocks all day long. I feel like Brandon Ingram is going to have a good game.
They don't have anyone to stop him.
Even though it's on the road, like they're not a great defensive team. Most guys are undersized or incapable of chasing them in space. So I'm kind of just riding the hot hand or who I think can score. Damian Lillard very easily could score like crazy. He's at home. We all know how he performs in the Moda Center, not the Rose Garden anymore. But you got to pick an upset, and that's what I'm picking. Woe is me. I have to go third. Some of these picks are a little harder, but that's what I'm taking.
The next thing with New Orleans is they can't close a game, dude.
Yeah.
They cannot close out a game.
And that speaks to the coaching. Alvin Gentry's on the hot seat. Like, the things that he's supposed to be good at, despite having some veterans on the team, a mix of young guys, old guys that know how to execute, like, it just don't seem ready. Their free throws aren't on point. They're not shooting great percentage, and they are not able to execute from an offensive, mastermind is what he was coined as coming from Golden State. So really disappointing. And so I wonder what's going to happen as the season goes on if they continue to disappoint, even though David Griffin has said, they're not looking to make a change at coaching. But my other underdog.
Maybe it's intentional.
Possible. Oh, yeah. They want to get the better draft pick, right? And I wonder what happens when Zion comes back. I really hope they don't just push him back to he's gonna come back in March.
They will.
Oh, he'll come back in May.
I think it's obvious.
I want to see him play, man.
Yeah, I know, but they're probably gonna push him back.
So my other underdog pick, I've got Denver going into Phoenix and losing to Phoenix on December 23rd. We got so many games going on that day. Too hot, too low to the ground. Those guys. Kelly
not enough cola.
Too much oxygen.
Yeah. Kelly Oubre, Ricky Rubio, hopefully he's back by then. Devin Booker looking good, and it's possible that DeAndre Ayton's playing again.
Yeah, I think he should be back by then.
If he has a good shooting night, some defense being played, and maybe they just don't have it that evening, I'm kind of leaning towards Phoenix a little bit, even though they're not playing as well as they were to begin with. I think they got Aaron Baines out, which is actually pretty big. But I'm leaning Phoenix's way for that game. For my even games, I've got Boston at Toronto because, you heard the injury report 45 minutes ago. Toronto is looking pretty.
Yeah, that's just like free
pretty
wins.
dire.
Right? Come in here and get them.
They're like Golden State of this week. Like let's take the over with Boston. Chicago, and that's on Christmas, so I'll definitely be paying attention to that. I think it's the first game of the day.
Started off.
I get to wake up, get a win. Hope
5
so.
games that day.
Chicago at Orlando on the 23rd. I think I'm gonna take Orlando in this one. Chicago has a horrid defense.
Fult's gonna feast.
Fult's gonna feast with a young giraffe. Gonna be prancing down the
top
the
of
court.
the trees, man.
Yeah, jumping and dunking on everybody. Their defense is terrible. Zach LaVine's great on offense. Lauri Markkanen is great on offense. Every couple games, 30-5, 30-4, 27
Jonathan
and 6.
Isaac gonna lock it down.
Where's he at?
What
this
I thought
game,
he would
though?
do. I just thought he'd do a little bit more on the
16-5 the next game. Shooting a horrible percentage.
Kind of sad Orlando's bad because I feel like they should be really. They got some good players.
Well, they got an injury.
Yeah.
Vucevic is out for a while. He's a fulcrum of their offense.
Yeah.
Aaron Gordon's inconsistent. He hasn't quite put it together
Jonathan
yet.
Isaac,
But
that dude gonna be good.
So I've got Orlando in that matchup, at home. So, and then the final one, and it doesn't feel good betting on either of these teams. Like, it's kind of crazy thinking that, so for years and years and years as a Mavericks fan, it's like, man, who do I want to see in the playoffs? I don't want to see Memphis. They're kind of tough. Pau Gasol on the team,
Yeah.
Don't want to deal with Marc Gasol, grit and grind, the Grizzlies, Tony Allen. You definitely don't want to see the fucking San Antonio Spurs, the big brothers of the Dallas Mavericks for years and years and years. Tim Duncan, Manu Ginobili, Tony Parker. Now, all those guys are gone. It's all new. Everyone's inconsistent. Greg Popovich is still there, but you just don't know the kind of defensive rotations you're going to get from night to night. Dejounte Murray hasn't been enough to kind of put them over the edge and really win. DeMar DeRozan and LaMarcus Aldridge still very solid, but giving it away on defense. So it's kind of a toss up, but I'm gonna bet on the coaching of San Antonio breaking this kind of losing on and off skid and taking advantage of a younger team. So I'm taking San Antonio over Memphis on the 23rd as well. So those are my picks.
Very fair takes.
Lock them in.
They are locked in. That is going to be the picks for the month, guys. I know it's kind of quick since we really only did 2 of these, but It's going to come quick at us, too. It's going to be like a train slapping us across the face because we're going to have a loser almost immediately, right? We're going to know.
And we are taking suggestions for their punishment.
Yeah, so we only got to do 2 sets of picks, and we're going to have a loser. And we are still taking suggestions for punishments. Last time, Rich got 2 pies to the face in the middle of the show. We got the video coming up on that, I think, here soon.
Always in the middle. Always in the beginning.
So if you have an idea for what the punishment could be, let us know. Just shoot us a tweet to Shotcallers Show. That's at Shotcallers Show. Send us a DM to _Shotcallers on Instagram. Leave us a comment in either the Apple Podcast or on YouTube. And we'll take any suggestions because I don't plan on losing. So the worst you can
I'm not losing twice, baby.
I don't think I'm going to lose either.
You say that
I think I got some good picks this time around.
It's literally like we're tied because, I mean, you're only, what, 2 points ahead? But we got 2 upset picks. So these upset picks, if you hit both of them, you're going to be sitting pretty. If you miss both of them, you're going to be falling behind pretty quick. Yeah, that does it for this segment of Pick'em. I think we've got a segment of...
No.
Not this time. We're going to go
No
ahead.
bits today.
We're looking forward to Christmas.
All right. Yeah.
Rich's bits on this day and 2 Christmases ago.
Bits are...
Do we have Christmas jerseys this year?
I don't think so.
think
They just
so.
wear like the icon.
We have like
or
statement jerseys and
association
city
jerseys.
edition. That's it.
Okay,
Yeah.
so no Christmas jerseys. I kind of like the Sleeth Christmas jerseys that came out.
I like them too.
Yeah.
That's for sure. I wish the Mavericks would have had one.
Even if they don't wear them, just give it to the fans.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
You know what I was thinking? You know how they have that American Express insurance thing?
Yeah.
I was thinking about just finding the most like likely to leave players, buying their jerseys just to have them,
Just
wear them,
switch
and
them
just
around.
switch them. Like just have every jersey.
There's got to be a limit to that, though.
Hell
I don't
no.
know.
Hell no.
I'll read the terms.
Shit says assurance.
Get you
I'll
a
read
Kevin.
the
Get
terms.
you a Kevin Love.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. We get Kevin Love right now, and then boom, switch it out for a
Portland Kevin Love.
Huh?
Portland has some
Portland
nice
Kevin
jerseys.
Love. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
You
definitely.
get those on
Oh,
Alibaba
speaking of
already.
Portland, guys, if we didn't, I don't know if we said this already, but we're heading out to Portland in about 4 weeks.
Oh,
Check
yeah,
out
in January,
the Mavericks at Portland. So we'll make sure to report from there.
Yeah.
Portland fans, hit us up.
If
We'll
you
be
guys
there.
have been to Portland, if you live in Portland, please let us know what's some cool shit to do out there.
let us know where to go.
Want to have?
It got here in what feels like no time. So that'll be a lot of fun. Haven't been in the Northwest yet.
P&W.
Been everywhere else actually. Been the East, the West, the North,
Seattle,
Northeast,
Vancouver.
Northeast, yeah.
the North, the Southeast, and we're obviously in the South. So, yeah, if you guys are from Portland and have any suggestions because you visited, let us know. We'll make sure to check out some of the spots down there. We like food.
Oh,
So
hell
we'll
yeah.
take any
Can
suggestions
you
there.
tell?
Yeah, we'll make sure to take a lot of pictures, guys. I think that does it for this week's episode. If you guys have any questions, make sure to shoot us a message to shotcallarshow@gmail.com. Shotcallers Show on Twitter, _Shotcallers on Instagram, and leave a comment on YouTube or Apple Podcasts. Just search for the Shotcallers. But until next time, I'm JV.
That's Andre.
And this guy right here, that's Richard.
That's Richard. And we'll catch y'all next time.
The Renegade.